Welcome to Tunga Acts and Expert Tuesday, and today's a good day. I'm sure we are all enjoying the chilled weather. Yeah, and today being a very, very interesting day, we have an interesting, amazing, phenomenal speaker in our midst. Our very own is a developer in Tunga, and we have him to share with us today part of his insights, his knowledge. He's quite knowledgeable, and yeah, he will be giving us some tips of the iceberg today. So I have, he's fondly called Moshood, right? But his name is Umar. But I'm just going to skip that. Sorry for murdering your name, Moshood. So I'm just going to stick with Umar. It's really, really nice to have you here today to come speak with us about demystifying ORMs in PHP. Yeah, we have been having a lot of conversations around PHP in the community, and it is really, really amazing to have you here today to speak about this particular topic with the audience. And I'm pretty sure we're all looking forward to listening to you and learning from you. Also, if you have any contributions during this course of speaking, or you have any questions, you can always drop them either in the chat box or in the question and answer session. Like I said, Moshood is one of our developers in Tunga, and we are so excited to have him in our midst today. I don't really know if I should go through some real details of his bio, because man, his bio is body, right? So, but I'm just going to be giving us a little bit of the line. He's a software developer with over 5 years of experience. I mean, this man here is a king in this business, yeah? So you have over 5 years of development, of experience working with local and international clients. He's proficient in PHP and has successfully built a financial tool and event management, among others, right? So he will be discussing today, we'll be discussing demystifying ORMs in PHP, and the floor is yours, Moshood. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Bami. You shared quite nicely there. You did well summarizing my CV. Additionally, you also did mention that this is the tip of the iceberg. So I would love to inform the attendees today that this is just a part one where I'm just like brushing off the top there. So just brushing really. And a bit and practical session shall come, because this is really theoretical. I didn't want to go into the weeds, dive deep quite yet we didn't really understand what we're doing in the first place. Yeah. So today is theory day. I would love to share theory, and then when the practical day comes, I'll surely as well share them practicals. And yeah, by the end of the 2 sessions, I'm sure everybody shall be well conversant with the topic at hand, and we shall be happy people. We shall get rid of all those myths that we have around ORMs. We shall get a better understanding of how we digest them, how to deal with them, when to deal with them, when not to deal with them, what to choose when. Because I mean, it has become a topic of discussion around for quite a while. Some believe they are dead, they are only kept alive in frameworks. Some believe everybody has their different beliefs. So today I'm here to clear the air for starters. Then by the end of the presentation, we shall be happy people, and we shall make better decisions while developing our PHP applications accordingly. Hi everyone, as Bami introduced me earlier on, that's my name. You can pick the easiest. The other one failed Bami, and very many people fail it. Bami, you're not alone in failing to pronounce my name. enough of that. So yeah. So that's me. That's what I look like. That's my current picture. If you meet me on the streets of Kampala or Nigeria or anywhere around the world and you find someone who looks like that, that's me. And today I'll be sharing about ORMs in PHP. And yes, so, well, today is the theory class really. So I'll not spend a lot of time since it's theory and it's rush hour this side. So those guys who are on call most probably are rushing home or anything. So, so we can get to know what ORMs are. ORM stands for object or relational mapping. And what basically this means is, perfect. So what basically this means is just an abstraction layer that sits between the database application and database and the application. So when you're building your application, really, the ORM is just in the middle there. It's in the middle there to help you communicate between the database and your application. So it's mainly a middleman, and its work really is to make sure the two communicate quite fluently, because we write object-oriented languages and databases are not designed that way. Databases do not receive objects apart from something I'll show you in the future that maybe is designed for that. But for now, our native databases that we use in PHP don't really receive objects, and they receive something else. So the work of the ORM is sitting between there to make sure the database receives what it understands, and you who is coding also listens in object-oriented programming also does a good job while you're both comfortable. Yes. So, sorry. So a simple illustration, I'll consider a person object. We very well know that objects have properties and attributes. So in this case, if we're to consider an object person, so an object person has some attributes, and those attributes, let's say you have a name. My friend Pearl has maybe an address where she stays. She has an email address. She has a phone number where she's contacted. She maybe has a Twitter handle as well. These are different attributes, and the work of the ORM is to translate these maybe into fields and then have a smooth flow of data between the application and the database. So at any one point, you need to call that part in your application really. The ORM usually, if it's there in the middle, that's the part it does. So both of you guys can have harmony that side. So a little more by nature we know that like I was saying earlier on, that our databases that we use in PHP usually use MySQL or any SQL-based database do not really receive them as objects. Rather, they store them as scalar values, and scalar values really are like primary data types per se, like the way you understand it, that you can store integers, strings, variable characters, among other things. So the program must either convert the object into groups of simpler values for storing in database and convert them back upon retrieval, or just use simple scalar quantities. Allow me to close this application. Okay. So pretty much that's it. So like I said earlier on, the work of the ORM is mainly to help us convert those values as received from the user's end to maybe something the database understands. Yes. So examples, we have Aura, we have Batamye, we have Doctrine, Eloquent. Everybody who writes PHP nowadays knows Eloquent because they write a lot of Laravel. Though I must point out that Doctrine is mainly the backbone of very many ORMs based on that, and it's one of the oldest, if not the oldest, among others that were there. Even Zend has MySQL, all of them are there. So at any one time, you feel like you do not need to come up with one from scratch, well, we shall eventually do. You can pick on any of these and accordingly. However, before you pick on, I will show you something in the future there where you have to make some considerations. And yes, where do we make the considerations? The considerations comes in the design patterns, really. We have two types of patterns. So before you choose an ORM, you need to really look at it. You need to understand the inner workings before you just choose something, create a new application just because you want to get something done and then to do it. Well, in the short run, it may actually work for you because I mean, we are here, we are running. Client wants this chap, so you'll run over it and be good. But in the long run, it will eat you up. It will deal with it will tamper with performance of the application. When scaling happens, you may fail. You may need more resources for a database server. You may need basically how it's written affects a lot of things. So we have two of them. We have the active record pattern. I will tell you why they say it's an anti-pattern, but it's also considered a design pattern when making ORMs. And the second one is the data mapper pattern. So a little bit more about the active record pattern. The active record pattern is how it works mainly is well, for it, as I said there, when an object is associated, it's tied to a row in a table. So like every time you associate an object, a row gets created. And if we all notice, we see the problem with that already. Okay, it's not a problem if that is the intended use or the intended application. But when you create an object, a row is created as well. When something happens to that object, when it's modified, something happens to the database as well. So it's very, 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 very tightly coupled with the database. So any slight change you make, anything that changes goes directly to the database. And well, some people say it's not a good design pattern, or it's an anti-pattern, something that should be avoided because of its tightness to the database. But well, if your application, and I'm here stating nicely that it works nicely with code applications, if your requirements require you to be tightly coupled with the database, I mean, that you have to keep track of everything happening in the DB, then this is your go-to pattern. If you have to choose an ORM or if you have to write one, this is your go-to pattern because it's tightly coupled database and it keeps in sync with every single activity that's going on deep down there. Well, that has performance issues, that's what you know. So if you're happy that you're keeping track of everything, please watch out for performance issues. Yes. So more objects, more rows, and everything else like that. So there, I showed you a simple snippet where we're instantiating a new user object. We are assigning the user a username, and then we are calling a save. Notice that this is a method from the object itself. So it's like you're saving this very, very one. So that means that for it to be saved, actually, the object needs all the information there is to know about it, or that needs to be in the database for it to get saved. And well, it has its trade-offs, and pretty much that's it. So for data mapper pattern, I said that for this one, does actually it performs by a directional transfer of data between a persistent server or a relational database management system and a memory data presentation, or the domain layer. If you guys have made domain layer, well, more of like it keeps data around the application, but not persistent in database. So in this pattern, you keep a copy around to play with, and you keep a copy of the data that you need to be persistent in the database. And here it has advantages because if you're looking towards mainly playing with business logic rather than having an application that's tightly coupled with a database, this is your go-to pattern, because for it, excuse me. So for it, it mainly, how should I put it? It mainly focuses on the logic. So it gives you data to play with. It leaves it around there. You can play whatever you want with the data and just keep a part of what you need in the persisted part. So as you can notice from the code base here, you notice a difference that the first line is similar. Of course, you create a user object, you assign something there, you assign a username, but then here instead of having a method that comes from it, you call an entity manager, an entirely different thing. And you notice that this is a static class, static method that while saving this user here, the object does not need to know everything there is about the user. So it can save something with blanks. It doesn't need to know everything about it. And that's quite a nice thing. So that means that you can come back and do this later, or you can play around with information however much you need to. So it's one of the most recommended data patterns, and data mapper pattern is one of the recommended ones, and it's actually what Dr. Ryan uses, and most of these ORMs that are out there, they mainly refer to this. However, the other active record pattern is used in other languages, and I've seen it around guys who use Ruby on Rails, love it a lot. For those who use ORMs from that side, but here in PHP, this is the recommended one because of performance-related issues. Yes. So a little bit about the advantages. Well, switching between databases is easier because imagine you had written an application, and maybe the API you're using is the MySQLi, and now you maybe need to switch something like Postgres. Yeah, I would have an issue. You would have to rewrite most of the biggest part of the application, and that's not a cool thing. You waste time, you burn resources. So if you're using an ORM, you could switch type of database in one line or so, and you'd be good to go. The second advantage to ORMs is that in case there's a deprecation, so let's say God forbid, PHP says, now we have deprecated MySQLi. You guys have done a very good job, but we found that this thing is not good for your health, and they take it away. My goodness, a lot of things will have to be written. So imagine you have this application that has been around for like 10 years, code base has grown, and you had all these inserts that were depending on that API, you would work very badly there. So if someone was using an ORM, maybe perhaps if they had an implementation of that, they'll just do a user updates and they're very good to go. Okay. So, the other thing is you write less code. Sorry, you'd write less code. I know Tobias here likes writing less code. That's why he writes Python. There is a pass to that. So yeah, with ORMs, you write less code. I mean, everything in the background is done for you. You don't even need to look at what the SQL looks like. So if you're writing like those guys write 10 lines of a join, join this with an ORM, you can just write very simple basic code and you'll be good to go. Usually, these ORMs help with data validation, and we shall all agree. For us who have written a some Laravel or any other framework that implements these, you'll see that these come out of the box actually. If you specify that the user is inputting an email, you don't have to write all those ugly regexes. If Pearl was a program, maybe she would love them. But would you love regexes? I don't know. No programmer likes them anyways. So you didn't have to write all those ugly regexes to validate your data because they come out of the box. The other advantage to them is that sometimes these ORMs come with advantages. I mean, if you're a junior programmer or someone who is just starting out, you may not have a lot of experience loading a lot of data. So if you're using an ORM, maybe you could have something like eager loading, where you like load data before, but it doesn't really affect performance, and you load it slowly. Or there's a loading where you just load what you need, like load something after it's required, and you don't have to load out of that at once. And very many more advantages ORM enthusiasts will share with you. I mean, I just read the blog where someone was saying a lot of nice things about ORMs, very nice stuff. However, with all those flies that Tobias may have loved, or burning herself, there are some flaws to it. One is you have no control over the SQL output because its main job is to abstract away the complicatedness or the complexity of SQL. But where you have no control. So if you're writing some random join and you needed to, or if you're writing a very complicated query, you may run into issues, a lot of issues when it comes to ORMs, because maybe what you intend is not what you're writing. And remember, you have to go through a documentation, or you have to conform to some sort of format, because that's what's provided in documentation. There's nothing much you can do. So it's very key. I feel like it's the biggest flaw of ORMs, because I somehow need to know exactly what I'm outputting for a database. Yeah. I need to at least be able to select what I need to select. I need to make sure my queries are light. I mean, it's one of the things you look at while you're scaling an application. So it's one of the biggest disadvantages there. Well, they say sometimes ORMs are slow. Yes, I believe, because you don't know what's doing in the background. You don't know how much more queries it's doing, because for you may be assuming a join, but when it's actually putting a subquery instead, and that is not funny. To affect performance, to affect user experience, and you have a very bad review at the end of the month. HR will chop your money, not nice stuff at all. So the other disadvantage as well with every ORM, my friends, you will have to learn new syntax. You have to learn new syntax, and that means burning time in new documentations. In addition to the SQL you learned, so you already learned your SQL, and now here you are, you're maybe learning Eloquent again. You're going over documentation. What was this dev trying to think? And before you know it, burning time, and yet it may not even cross over. Your knowledge may not cross over from one application to another, or from one language to another, since it will be different. So yes, good and bad from everything. What are the best practices? Personally, I have some few recommendations when it comes to best practices. Well, always try to use thin models, very, very extremely thin models. I mean, thick models out there. I mean, the first ones, people who are thick and nice as models. But when it comes to programming, my friends, don't bring your thick models. Yeah, leave them that side. Deal with the thin ones, because less code means less execution time, less bugs, and less things to deal with. So just be direct. And please, when you're using ORMs, I would really say, you should really be very precise about what you're doing. I know they could be throwing asterisks in there, so you just imagine you have like a column of like a table of like 100 columns, and then you're just writing, just because you want to write less code, you don't want to specify the columns you want. My friend, you fetch 30 columns or 100 columns, and yet you're fetching 100 requests, 100 by 100. That query type is not funny. So you need to keep everything slim and neat as you can. My second recommendation, I would say never try to change the auto-generated stuff when you run those migrations, or whatever ORM you're using, and it has some auto-generated stuff. Please don't tamper with it, because it's probably where you had defined the relationships, maybe where you had defined some very interesting things like data types, and you don't know what this auto-generated stuff is. So unless you're really interested in tinkering, please just leave it the way it is. It just functions the way you intend it to. 3, I would recommend that you separate validation logic from the entities. Programmers have an issue of feeling sharp. They really want to do all the stuff in one line. That stuff is not funny, and to end up causing confusion, to end up causing performance issues. So please separate validation from entities. Yeah. The other thing I have to say, please watch out for the ORM enthusiasts out there. Care about native technologies like using databases. PHP, we very well know works very well with maybe MySQL or its fork MariaDB, and let's please keep it that way. Just because you can have an ORM working with Postgres, doesn't mean it's the best choice. I mean, you can, just because you can, but it shouldn't be your go-to thing. Like you just because you have an ORM, or because you have this kind of assurance that's going to work out, you shouldn't go for it. Because the developers in mind who design these APIs that are in the languages we use saw these things. They They did their research, they did their benchmarks, and they chose whatever they chose for whatever reason. So please, 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 please look out for this. Yeah. So for those OP enthusiasts who feel we really, really, really need to work with ORMs, but or we need to work with our objects, but your databases are limiting us and you're giving us the pros and cons of ORMs. What other choices do we have? Well, I have a small answer here. The alternatives are object-oriented databases. Here they come to the rescue because they keep objects the way they are. You look at Mongo stores, okay, stores documents, but there are those databases that actually store objects the way they are. They do a nice job. However, I'll go back to this last point. This last one here. Please, 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 please be very considerate while you make some of those choices. But object-oriented databases are good. Yes, they store objects. Yes, when you retrieve them, they're just in natural format for you to use them how you feel. Yes, make you feel good. Yes, and just have their version of ORMs if you need to still enjoy working with ORMs. Yeah, but however, note that using an object-oriented database eliminates the need for converting data. And that's nice stuff because that's what you're really looking for. But, and the big but, I have a warning here that says object-oriented databases tend to be used in complex and niche project applications. That is fine. One of the arguments against this object-oriented databases is that they may not be able to execute out-of-the-box application independent queries. So actually my friend Bami here loves her joins or loves writing Hello SQL. Unfortunately, when it comes to object-oriented databases, you may not query it as much as you need to, and that is a limitation already. So watch out while going that side. And I wouldn't love to keep us much here very far, very much. This was the theory class. I'll share my final thoughts. I'll try to keep this as brief as I can because we have an upcoming practical class where we look at all these applications, all these ORMs in a more practical sense, so we can make our comparisons in full. My final thoughts on this: ORMs, well, they are enthusiasts who will encourage you to use them all over the internet. Please, 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 and please, only use them if you must. Only use them if you must. Anyway, depending on the type of application you're designing and your requirements, if you need to keep a close eye on the database, between the database and the application, well, that can be good. You know what to do. If you don't need to, you still know what to do. Writing SQL is good. It keeps you in control. Watch out at what ORMs do. If you're to use an ORM, please study it very deeply. Go through the entire documentation, and if possible, even contribute to it to show you their love. It's open source. Otherwise, should we use them? Yes and no. Do you recommend them? Yes and no. Given that Laravel already gives us Eloquent to deal with, and if you're designing something using a framework, really something out of the box that you can work with, so yes, you can deal with it. Would you recommend a native application? Like if I'm working with vanilla PHP, would you recommend an ORM? No, not really, because that means more code. You're already abstracting your access to the database, so you're just trying to hide stuff. Really, there is really nothing much. So in native applications, I wouldn't recommend. Frameworks, please feel free, enjoy, because they've really looked at it and it's just out of the box for you. So pretty much that's it. That's what I had to share this evening. Please watch out for a subsequent practical session that is coming up, and I'll welcome any questions in case Tobias, Paul, Arthur, Ezra, or Bami have any, or any other person on the call.
So, can you hear me? So, thanks for that, Moshood. So, my question would be that how How easy do you think it is to, first off, I don't use PHP, so this is just like a separate learning experience for me entirely. And then I know that we've got ORMs also it's a common thing with backend language where you work with databases. But then from a Node.js user, I'm looking to see if there's any similarity with ORMs in PHP and ORMs in.
Okay. I didn't get who was asking that question, but I got the question. But yes, I did get the question. Thank you for
I'm not sure
asking.
I really got that. I think it was breaking in between. So it would be nice if you can take it again, or you just put it in the chat box and I'll just read it out. That works.
What I heard was that, okay, at least if he hasn't, what I heard was that are there any similarities between ORMs in Node.js and ORMs in PHP? At least that's what I heard. The person was kindly confirmed that that's what you intended to ask, or that I got it right.
Yeah. Can you confirm can you please confirm if that was a question? I'm not sure he's here anymore. I think he, okay. Yeah, he's
Do
not
I
here.
take it like that, or I?
Yeah, you can just take the parts and let's see if he's gonna join again. Take his questions again.
When it comes to Node.js, since it's recommended database is really an object relational database, like MongoDB, which really does stores. And I just pointed out that these ones really you cannot query them directly. Okay, it is all you can, but it's not really very friendly as much as SQL databases are. In that case, I would recommend an ORM. Yeah, to abstract the complexity of dealing with having to write whatever queries, if there are even queries in Node.js. I would recommend it in that case. I don't know if I took it right or something else.
Well, he's not here to confirm that, and I couldn't even hear his question very well. So I will just take it that is the question he asked. But is there any other question from the audience? Any contribution, someone that wants to like add to what Moshood just said, or you have a question for, you want to get clarity?
I see Ezra here raised the hand.
That raise your hand. Ezra, please go ahead.
Good evening, lady and gentlemen around.
Thank you.
Good evening, Ezra.
Let me first get the name of the host, Babi.
No, it's just Bami. Thank you. B-A-M-I, Bami.
Bami. Okay, my name is Ezra.
Ezra.
Is it? Yeah. Oh. Okay. Mine is like a contribution. Some months back I tried to write my own wrapper on top of ORM. Okay, to build my kind of ORM on my own. Yeah, but to do this I had reasons. It's not that I was doing it out of curiosity. I faced this issue in PHP that the grandparents of PHP have already defined its nature and all the kids cannot change it. If you go to other languages and maybe you try Java, you try Go, you try Python, and then you look at the frameworks, their power is in the ORM. But when you come to PHP, all the frameworks, their weakness is in the ORM. Now, if you try something like, because almost every framework, you reach a point when you break out and then you try to use your normal SQL code. But if you try something like Django ORM of Django, or if you try something like SQL Alchemy, you can write the entire project without typing any SQL code, without needing it. So I feel like the approach we already have in PHP on ORMs is also wanting at some point, in that, for example, let's go technical somehow. If you look at most ORMs in PHP, they go migrations, then to models. So you first create migrations, then you convert those migrations to models. Now, in most cases, as we people, normal developers, we don't create strong migrations. That's why in most cases, you end up creating your database, then you try to reverse from database to models. If you try framework like Laravel, then you do migrations to models. But other frameworks, some elegant frameworks, they will give you a chance to even convert direct models direct tables to models. Now you see that's a point where now we lose out, because the database management has moved away from the language or from the framework now to you, the user. So the ORM has started losing out. I think the approach, that's where PHP framework, if you say your conclusion was we should not rely on ORMs in PHP, yes, personally, I would say yes, people should not rely on ORMs in PHP. But in other languages, for example, if you look at Hibernate in Java, I don't think there's anyone who writes Java with normal SQL code anymore. I think people have stopped like in 2010 when JDBC and Hibernate came in. People are writing Hibernate because it is mature in that it holds those models. You create the models by Hibernate itself. It is Hibernate that creates for you the migrations and then starts tracking those migrations. If you go to Django, the same thing. For you create a model. Now, when you're creating a model, it's like you're creating the actual table in the database. But for PHP frameworks, you find you create migrations, now converting them to models, now things will start breaking from there. And then we lose out. I think my conclusion is we need, maybe if you're curious like I was, or you're interested in this, PHP ORM needs to be given a new approach, an approach that will not rely on Symfony. The other weakness I saw is that most ORMs in PHP write on top of Symfony. Now, Symfony has already defined the things its own way, and they don't want to start from scratch. So they go with what Symfony gives them, and then they continue. A few of those ORMs that work independently and start things from scratch, you see they will start acting independently and maybe better. But the rest are following the architecture of Symfony. Where Symfony is weak, they will also be weak. So I think the whole ORM procedures of PHP need a clear new approach. Otherwise, personally, I also wouldn't recommend them. I write PHP, but in most cases, you find I will break out of the ORM. I will call my connection to the database. Then I write my normal SQL. I write my own transactions and commit them because I don't trust the ORMs in PHP. Yeah.
Okay, I was speaking. Thank you very much for that, Ezra. I think Uso has his hand up. Can you give your 2 cents before we just conclude?
Can I add a word to what Ezra was saying?
Yeah, I know, right? I know he gave pretty long contribution, and definitely we have something to say, but I thought we could take.
Okay. No, let's take all of them at once.
Otto, are you with us? Otto. Okay, I guess he's not. Okay, so going back, thank you very much, Ezra. That was That was pretty amazing and long. And I think I've even answered some questions I have in my head, because I was about to ask Moshood that he's talking about ORMs and PHP, and I could see that he had a lot of do not go to in the ORMs. He was saying that I wouldn't recommend this, I wouldn't recommend that. So if ORM and PHP will not be recommended, why do people still use it? That would have been my question. So why you touch on what Hezra had to say, or Hezra had to say, then you have to answer my question too. Can you hear me, Moshood? Hello.
Yes, Bami, I can hear you. I'm using like multiple screens, so focus changes very badly. Okay, so you missed the presentation. There's a subsequent one coming. Don't worry. You get a hang of it. So Bami, what I have to say about what Ezra shared earlier on is that he's right. He's right. The pro ORM people will tell you, oh no, ORMs are not, they're very nice. They abstract everything for us. But the only thing that is keeping ORMs alive in PHP is actually frameworks. If frameworks were not here, honestly, the brutal honest truth is ORMs would be long gone. Because in PHP, you really need that touch. You really need that touch. So, Bami, if you said your question was why people are still using them, it's because they're using frameworks. Otherwise, I made it clear that if you're writing a vanilla application in PHP, I would personally not recommend using an ORM. So for other languages, ORMs are working fine. That's why when someone asked that how you see my own opinion when it comes to Node.js, I said for that case, I would recommend an ORM, really. So that is my final thought on that.
Thank you very much. Thanks for taking your time out to share your knowledge with us. And also, thanks for your contribution, Azra. Thank you very much. And thanks for everyone that joined this episode, an edition of Tunga Acts and Expertise Day. We are going to be having this session again because I feel like we should do like a demo, a practical session of this, and Moshood will be coming back on the is it 15th now of November to take us the session and to take us the second part of this session. And we'll be looking forward to having Moshood again on the 15th of November. So you all should be on the lookout. And yes, I will be sharing a slide for this first presentation. I'm sure if you are here, that means you register and I have your email. So I'm going to be sending you the slides and the recording of this particular session, say before the end of this week, hopefully. And then we'll be having the part 2 on the 15th of November. However, we still have Tunga Acts and Expertise Day on the 1st of November. Yeah. So we'll be putting the notification out there, and we hope you all sign up and join for the next session. Thanks everyone for taking out your time to join this today's episode of Acts and Expertise Day. I hope you learn one or two things. Of course, there's a lot of things to learn here today, and this session has been super insightful and informative. And we are grateful for everyone that joined, from Israel to Moshood, our speaker, to Angela, to Daniel, to Joseph, to Victory, to Tobias. Thank you, everyone. We are so excited to have hosted you tonight, and we look forward to having you in 2 weeks' time. That's on the 1st of November. Yeah, and this is Tunga. Yeah, Tunga.io. What we do is we match African software developers with European clients, basically. So we introduce you to the European market, and we have several learning parts. We have stuff on our social media. So if you go on Instagram, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, we are Tunga.io. So you can as well follow us, so you get to follow all the notifications and get all possible updates for our next events. And of course, Moshood's part 2 of ORMs in PHP. Yeah, thank you all for joining once again. Thank you. Do have a wonderful night rest and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much. Bye. I'm going to be playing you song again, like we did in the beginning of the session, and you all can enjoy while you leave. I think we have about 4 minutes to go. So thank you, everyone. Thanks, Bob. Thank you. Enjoy.
For me, I think it's not quite nice for someone to leave without saying hi. I would love to at least hear people say hi before they quit. Hey.
Oh, you want to? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Please.
Angela should say hi. Atta should say hi. Esther should say hi. At least
Angela.
Say
Angela.
hi.
Hi, Angela. Can you say hi?
Hi, Bobby. Hi. Hi, Moshood. Thank you for that session. It has been really interesting.
Thank you. Okay, who wants to say hi again? I mean, someone has said hi, Moshood. Well, Moshood, don't worry. I'm going to be sharing my playlist with you. You're welcome. Tobias, thanks for joining.
Let's say Marvelous.
Marvelous, thanks for joining. Stick around here.
Let me try out something small here.
Thank you, Joseph. Thanks for joining.
How is that quality? You should try it.
The audio is not bad. Are you playing it from your Mac?
No, you share sound, like instead of sharing screen, you share sound. So. So you come to share screen, then you go to advanced, then share computer audio.
I'm seeing it, audio setting.
Yes, now. That's how you share saxophone version.
Saxophone version of it.
Not only saxophone, any type of music, like even when you're playing earlier on, you can like share it. Hi, Ezra. Good night, everyone. Yeah, thank you very much. I'm looking forward to seeing you around, Ezra, next time. Most days, let's meet for the practical session as well. So we can touch these applications together. Maybe, who knows, the code will be available on GitHub. You can make all your PRs. I'll be looking forward to very nice contributions from everyone. Okay, our mates are done.
15th of November.
Yeah, 15th of November.
So Moshood has stolen the
what?
Has stolen the party from me. Thank you very much.
Wow. When is the next webinar? I'll try not to miss it. Oh, it's on 15th. It's marvelous. It's on 15th. The next one.
15th, yeah.
Yeah, 15th. So I think I'll put you in the chat room.
I'll actually be looking forward to Ezra taking part with the coming session.
It's 8.
All right. Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Dan, thanks for coming through.
Bye. Thank you.